everyone? I'm Captain Logan, and welcome to a new series I'm doing on one of my various collections called Cap's Collection. I've been threatening to do this for a long time. I wanted to do this at the beginning of the year, and time got away from me with our new baby in the house, everything else that's going on. So I'm finally getting to this with a new collection that I actually just started and honestly have mostly completed already with this buy. And I haven't even looked at it yet. This is going to be an unboxing to start the Caps Collection series, which is maybe a weird choice, but I was excited to look at these and I thought maybe you guys would want to see them too. So I don't know how long this is going to take. By the way, very late on a Sunday, not expecting a lot of people to show up to this live, but thanks for checking it out tonight. Thanks for looking at it after the fact. If you get around to doing that, I'm going to try to do these as much on a weekly basis as humanly possible. We're going to go through like everything geeky that I own. I'm going to go through my figures, statues, comics. I'm going to try to break down the comic collection by property and character, sprinkle those through. I'm going to do one on my tattoos. There's enough of those on myself now to consider that a collection. I'm going to go through all my Star Trek items. Lots and lots of cool stuff to look at. I did this a couple of years ago. I think it's been that long now, with my superhero movie collection behind us here, and I may come back and revisit that and touch on highlights of anything that I didn't get to last time. But that was a 6-hour series, and I don't think I'm going to go through everything again like that, or if I do, it'll be much more rapid fire. But I am going to handle everything else kind of the way I did with that, where I'm really going to take my time with it. I'm not going to do a whole lot of prep for these, because I think it'll be fun to go back through my stuff and surprise myself with items that I haven't seen in a long time. I've just got quite a bit down here in the bunker. It's been a while since I've looked at some of even my own stuff, so it'll be kind of a fun adventure to go through together, I think, and my son's going to help me with some of these. This one, again, just being an unboxing, I figured I would do by myself. I actually kind of considered going ahead and taking these figures out of the packages, but I'm not going to do that tonight because I want to show them to my kids before we take them out. This is going to be kind of a fun thing for us to do together because they haven't seen or played with a lot of these figures. Some of my old 87 stuff I've gotten out for them, but a lot of this stuff will be things that they've never seen, and certainly not brand new in package with all of the accessories together. So before I start unboxing this, let me just mention why I got this stuff and like why now and what I'm thinking with all this. So recently an opportunity kind of came and went for me. I almost pulled the trigger on a collection of, and some of you guys might bristle at this if you're action figure collectors and you're fans of this stuff at all. And by the way, I should also mention that part of the reason I'm starting with these tonight, too, is because it's the 40th anniversary of Ninja Turtles this year. It's going to be my 40th birthday in a couple of months. I've been trying to do as much Turtle stuff on the channel as possible this year, and it's also part of the reason that I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger on it this year. It just seemed like the right time. So anyway, it was a really nice collection of like nearly everything I ever cared about from this series, with the original stuff in really, really good condition that was up on Facebook Marketplace. And I just didn't have the cash on hand to pull the trigger on it and make it happen. I really seriously considered trying to figure out a way to do it, to make that happen. Of course, making the movie this year, I've been fundraising for that. I've been, having to be a little bit more careful with my pocketbook. This is going to be probably my last anything like big purchase this year, for anything for myself anyway. And again, I partly got this to do stuff with my kids, but I'm not going to lie, it's certainly more buying back, my own childhood than it is anything. And I got a good deal on the reproductions. So anyway, that's, justification for that, I guess. But it was a near complete, if not complete, Technodrome. It had like most of the figures I either had as a kid or always wanted and never was able to get my hands on. It had the drill module. There's a lot of stuff. The price was fair, but more than I had on hand and was willing to spend right then. And then I was kicking it around and I was like, well, I can wait a while, try to pull it together, hope that the guy still got it. And then I started looking into the reproduction stuff because I found out that Amazon had pre-orders open for the reproduction for the Technodrome, which I had been wondering if they might do soon for a while. And that finally came up. And that was tempting to me, not just because it's cheaper, but because I never got one with the box and got to take it out and put it together. So, yes, not going to be as valuable, not the original, not going to be exactly the same either. I have heard rumor that it's like an inch smaller than the original, but you get to sticker it. You get to put all the pieces together. You get to take it out of that box. And I didn't get that experience as a kid. And I do have a massive nostalgia for the 87 figures in their original packaging. Because one of my earliest memories is getting... Because remember, I was born in 1984, and these figures came out in 87 to 88. So I would have been 4 or 5 at the oldest, at the latest, before I got my Donatello, which is part of the reason maybe that Donatello, at least from the 87 series, has always been my favorite turtle. And I have a very vivid memory of first getting that and of how, kind of gnarly looking the face was with that grimace. And it was a really provocative image. It was kind of like the 89 movie Bat Symbol for me, and around the same time, another really early memory. And so those two things, big major reasons that I'm into these things today, and that, this is kind of what I do in my life, and started the YouTube channel and all of that. So real formative stuff for my personal history. Not to get too, deep into my... I don't know, self-indulgent with my own personal history, but that's a lot of why I started thinking, well, yeah, they're reproductions, but it might be cool to get to take all this stuff out of packaging. And yeah, I could leave it all in the packaging and try to display it somewhere. I don't really have a place for that. These days, and I was like, and then I could get the van, the party wagon, put that together again, because I did have the party wagon, but I lost it a long time ago. I still to this day don't know what happened to it, and I never got the blimp, and I found out that they did a reproduction of the blimp, which I didn't realize, and I was like, well, for like half or less of what I could have gotten that collection for, I could get most of what I would really like to have. And then I found out that 3 of the 4 big figures I would want are coming out in November, I think. And that's Slash and Rat King and I think Casey Jones. And after that, it's really just like, stuff that I never had. It's really... just past the things that I've got here that I'll unbox here in a second. It's like General Trag, which to get an original, that's one of the cheaper figures. He's not hard to get. If they never put one out, I could get one that looks pretty decent. And then there's Usagi Yojimbo. There's 3, 4, 5 other figures that I would really eventually want, maybe. And I went, okay, maybe I should start looking into that. And then I found an auction on eBay. So I was looking into what it would cost to piece them all together. And certain figures were kind of, as you might expect, harder to get than others now, particularly the Foot Soldier. I was seeing that at like 35, 40, 50 bucks everywhere. And I was like, I'm not sure how I'm going to get my hands on that. And then I found an auction that was 19 figures, and I think it's pretty much everything they've made so far, at a pretty good average a piece. And I would be able to get the Foot Soldier plus the original 4 Turtles at significantly less than what it was costing everywhere else. And the average ends up putting some of these figures up a little higher than I was seeing them on average, but it all comes out in the wash ultimately. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to find all of that together again. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on it. Just wanted to see real quick if anybody was with me tonight. Hi, James Egan. Good to see you, man. Let me go ahead and answer his super chat real quick, and then I'll go ahead and unbox this. Again, real late tonight. I wasn't really expecting a crowd, but I figured I'm going to go ahead and open this. I might as well show it to you guys. He says, what 5 superhero movies would you recommend someone who hasn't seen any, maybe a topic for a video? That is a cool topic. I should write that down, and I'm going to do that right now, and then I'll consider that for maybe a GNN topic, or I'll put it in the next Superhero Rewind. But I could, off the top of my head, try to throw a few at you, since it was a super chat. Here, I'll give you a gong. Here comes the gong. Anyway, so someone who's never seen a superhero movie, I would certainly go to the Donner Superman. I would go to Iron Man, and then 1990 Ninja Turtles. I got Turtles on the brain, but that's a real fun standalone movie. I haven't run into a lot of people that don't enjoy that movie. Now, 5 off the top of my head. As far as, I feel like you got to throw a Batman in there, and it's like, is it 89? Is it Begins? What exactly is? Is it Dark Knight? It's probably Dark Knight. And then one more. Probably Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Just to get your palate wet for some different eras, and for some of the real foundational things. I think that's the big 5 for me. But I'm copying that into some notes right now, and I will consider revisiting that down the road in case I want to elaborate or I have other ideas about that. But that came pretty quickly to me. I think that probably is the 5. James Egan. Okay, thanks, man. Really appreciate that. Hi, Sentai Ranger Donnie. Good to see you, man. He says, Happy Father's Day. Thanks, man. I hope everyone is well. My introduction to the Ninja Turtles was the 90 movie. Cool. I think a decent number of younger kids right then maybe had that, where did they see the cartoon or like an episode or two, or was it the show first? And any adults at that time probably were introduced to the Turtles with that movie. Dan Steiner, I'm not going to talk about the Kevin Spacey thing right now. I got mixed emotions, mixed feelings about that. I don't know what to make of that whole thing. So that I'm not going to tackle right now, right here. But thanks for showing up. Good to see you. I'm going to go ahead and unbox these Turtles figures. And like I said, I'm not going to take them out of the package right now, but I am planning on eventually, I'm not sure when yet, but I am planning on taking these out of the box. So this will not be a mint condition collection, but it will look that way right now. I do want to put together a glass display to put these in. And again, they're just reproductions. They're not going to be super valuable, but they will look really cool down here. And I'll get to take them all out and put them together and have, 100% complete accessories and everything, which will be really, really nice. Okay. I'm going to start with the figures. Let me just grab this box real quick. And then I'll take out the couple of vehicles I bought. So the Technodrome is not out yet, and there is not a release date for when exactly that's supposed to show up. This whole thing has been kind of a mystery. It keeps opening for pre-orders and closing and then opening again. And I was able to sneak in there the second or third time that happened and get a pre-order. So I don't know if any of those have shipped yet. It's the kind, because usually when Amazon does a pre-order, they give you a release date. But this is that kind of pre-order thing where it says they're out of stock and they'll let you know when yours is supposed to ship, which would suggest that they have them and they're just trying to get more in stock. So I don't know if anybody has one yet. But the fact that there aren't videos, as far as I know, unboxing them, putting them together, anything yet, suggests that nobody's got one yet. And we just recently got pictures for what it even looks like. So I'm hoping this year, but there's no way to know that for sure. James Egan, Cap, I bought the Batman pop. Is that a dangerous game, buying pops? Yeah, it absolutely is. it is a really easy thing to get addicted to because they're not horribly expensive unless you get into the higher dollar collectible ones. But when you initially buy them, it's anywhere between 12-15 bucks a pop, as it were. And as soon as you get one, you'll start seeing them for your favorite things, and you'll go, oh, I kind of want that one too. So my suggestion would be, if you get into pops, really narrow yourself down to one thing, and then be ready for there to be more of that one thing than you ever expected that they would make, because that's what happened with Batman, specifically with me. I decided I was only going to buy Batmans, and I knew there were quite a few. I thought there was going to be a collection of 40 or 50, and I'm up to, and they just kept making repaints and different outfits and, all these different versions of Batman. And I'm up to 120 something, maybe 130, and I bought 3 more just this weekend because some new stuff is just come out. So I got Cassandra Cain and the Joker War Joker, and I showed those off in a stream the other day. But anyway, let me go ahead and show you guys this. So these are all individually wrapped, so I actually will have to unwrap these as we go. Buckets Lover, for me, it's a tie between the 03 show and the 1990 movie. Both are equally important to me, and I saw them close together. Yeah, as far as favorite Turtles properties go, for me right now, IDW Comics eclipse everything. Waltz, I think, has the definitive take, more or less, on Ninja Turtles, and then it's the 90 movie, and then maybe the 03 series after that, although that would be Fighting Mirage, certainly. It'd be top 3. But the 2012 series is fun. And, of course, I've got a soft spot for the 87 show. It doesn't hold up super great going back to now. I'm trying to figure out the best way to handle this. I'm about to knock over a lamp. Hold on. Okay. Tonight, or put together the party wagon, because we'd be here all night, and we're already 20 minutes into this because Cap likes to ramble. Okay, these are going to be in no particular order. We begin with Baxter Stockman. Now, one of the collection videos I want to do pretty early, and maybe I should have made this before this, but again, unboxing, was excited to pull this out, is my collection of figures that I still have from when I was a kid, and all my old 87 is in that. So several of the figures in this box are things I own already, but very, very played with and missing accessories, and I wanted these complete to display, and so my kids could play with them a little bit as well. And I'll watch them, we'll make sure it's real, light play, but I'm going to let them play with these a little bit. I don't get prude about it. This stuff was really fun for me. I want them to get to enjoy it as well. So my Baxter Stockman is missing the wings and everything, and so it's nice to finally have that. Also, when I take these out of the package, I'm going to keep the cards, but I will, of course, not be keeping these together. So yeah, I actually also have a whole collection of figures that I used to have in box that I kept all the cards for. And those are later from when I stopped playing with figures but still bought them to display. And then I ran out of space. My wife and I, at one point, opened everything I had. And that'll be another fun video to go through as well. That's all in a whole different box back here. But yeah, let's go through these. Here we go. So we got Baxter Stockman, and that was one of the earliest figures I think I got when I was a kid. He kind of creeped me out when I was little. And then we get into a figure that I didn't have, and I didn't know who this was until maybe one of the 16-bit fighting games, the Tournament Fighters, but this is Ray Fillet, and this is not a figure I absolutely had to have, but it happened to come in this collection, so I thought I would go ahead and get that. Also, I said that I got most everything they've put out so far. As far as the, original line of stuff, that's kind of true. I will say there are several things that they've released that are not in this box. So they they've done like the movie star figures. I never liked what those looked like. I don't have to have those. I'm not going to be a completionist with this. I will maybe get the 4-pack they put out of movie villains, because I was one of those when I was a kid, and I have now a Super Shredder and I think even a Razor. But again, to have them complete with all the weapons and stuff, I might get those. And then pictured on the back of this box are the 4 turtles. So a lot of people had these instead of the original releases because they became hard to get and few and far between. So a lot of people had the turtles with the shells that open and all the weapons are inside. And I just never liked what the faces looked like, where you could like see the gums and they were like way wider and more exaggerated expressions. And I thought the shell gimmick was kind of silly. I never really cared for that. So I thought I was going to maybe have to get those because the original figures were higher for turtles and hard to get. And that's part of why I got this box, because they're in here. So anyway, I might change my mind on those at some point if I find them just real cheap, but I'm not planning on it right now. Here's the Foot Soldier, who is apparently the hardest to get and most sought after of these. So I was glad to get that in this box at the same price as the rest of them. Or I guess I should say, along with one money, but it was affordable. Thomas Lowe, what other toy collections do you have? You can display a whole section of it, like Tick, Star Trek, and Batman. And now I'll have it with this, and I could do it with Power Rangers now because I have a decent number of Lightning Collection and Legendary or whatever it was called before that with Bandai. Not anything like as much as I have with Tick and Star Trek, but I could make a nice little shelf with that. And then I have a good number of Diamond Select statues that I have on display and Power Ranger statues. I've gotten more into the plastic statue game than figures as of late, as the last few years. That's about what I collect. I've been a lot, and then of course pop figures. So I've been a lot less active with action figures. More recently, except for just now with this stuff, it's been more. Besides pops, I've been a lot more into tabletop gaming the last 3 or 4 years. And so I'll do a whole collection video on Heroes of the Grid. I have everything, and I don't know how exactly I'll break that down because I don't want it to be boring. But I will probably try to wait and do that after I have all the figures painted so that I can make it more of a painting collection video and just show you guys my paint jobs, because that'll probably be a little bit more interesting than just here's all the cards. So I'm not sure exactly how I'll break all that down, and I've done videos on some of that and showing off my storage solutions and that kind of stuff, but so there'll be some revisiting. I'll go back to the Tick. I have done a whole video on that, but I've got some stuff since then. Okay, here's Mondo Gecko. He was always one of my favorites, and Vince, when he and his brother decided to sell his old 87 Turtles collection, actually gave me his Mondo Gecko. So I already have this figure in pretty good shape, but now I'll have him again. Brand new and with a skateboard and anything else he might come with. Although, again, I have the skateboard for the original too, but it's up in the playroom. I let my kids play with it. This will be a little bit more pristine. Again, I'm going to let them play with this stuff a little bit too, but, supervise with me around. And, they know it's a little bit different when they're playing with my stuff than their stuff, but they do a really good job keeping stuff nice. I even let them play with my 66 figures a little bit. And then here is Leatherhead, which is a figure I never had, and a character that I didn't see very much in the cartoon show, but he's really interesting in the IDW comics. So cool to finally have that. And that is one I probably would have bought separately. He's in another 4-pack they did too, I think. Bob the Hunt Mondo Gecko is in the IDW comics. Most of these characters are. And somebody mentioned deep pulls. Yeah, Chewbacca's lover. IDW like to deep pull a lot. off the beaten path characters like this. Yeah, that was one of the reasons I loved that. And Waltz would give them really cool backstories and a little bit of dimension and make you really care about them. He just, it was like, I don't know, a textbook or a great lecture in how to adapt from goofy or cartoony source material. And of course, he pulled from everything, but a lot of it was 87. And to make it more sophisticated and smarter and give it a more specific lore, concrete and consistent lore, and make it, kind of like Batman Brave and the Bold did with 60s Batman, what you thought you were watching when you were a kid. But it's also, even though it's a little bit rougher and darker in places, it's also a cool way to introduce kids to it. It's like, well, it always could have been that if it weren't for censorship and dumbing things down for children and all of that, which is why I really respect projects like that. And the Boom Comics have done that to a lesser degree with Power Rangers. Maybe not lesser now. I think they're at about that place at this point. And certainly Go-Go Power Rangers is always that way. Okay. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, guys, while I just unbox this stuff. Again, I was going to do this myself, and I figured I would make it one of these collection things. Here is Splinter, who I still have my original figure for, but he's been missing his, I don't know, smock, whatever you want to call it, robe, for years, and I think he's missing an arm, too, maybe. So, glad to finally have him with his bow and arrow intact and all of his accessories. This was a thing Playmates was kind of notorious for, where they would give you a lot of accessories, but they didn't go the extra 9 yards to paint everything the colors they should be. So it was always one color, and the Star Trek figures are that way too. It also might be fun to mix and match my Playmates Star Trek and Ninja Turtles with displays a little bit. Because nobody's tell him, not that you'll have any opportunity to, but I got Mikey some Playmate Star Trek stuff for his birthday, which I think he'll be excited about. And then here is April O'Neil, and again, I still have my April, but I remember precisely where the scuffs on her face are from how much I played with these when I was a kid. So it's a little bit surreal seeing her clean like this, and all of her accessories as well. There's a variant, I don't know if you'd even call them variants, but a different version of both April and Splinter that are in a 4-pack, or in maybe a couple of 4-packs, along with these like original Mirage-looking turtles that are still in color, and I want to say with the colored masks, I can't remember, but it's still Playmates and figures they never made, but they've done these new like comic Mirage-looking turtles. And anyway, they've got 2 4-packs where one of them comes with 2 of the turtles, one of them comes with the other turtles, and then I don't remember all the figures, the other figures that are with them, but one of them has a Splinter, one of them has an April, and they're branded Ninja Turtles Adventures, like the Adventures comics, and I almost bought those thinking I couldn't get an April in a Splinter for a decent price before I found this lot. And they're colored slightly differently, and that would have driven me crazy, considering I had this stuff when I was a kid. So again, glad I was able to get the originals. Thomas Lowe, you have a preference on which toys to keep in the box and which to take out of the box? These days, it has... So for me, it's kind of complicated. I used to keep a lot more in the box, and then I just... with moves and different apartments and things before I got a house, didn't have the space to keep them together and make sure that they didn't get damaged. So I finally just, at one point, my wife and I sat down and we decided, you know what, let's just go ahead and take all this stuff out of the box. And so I'm I'm less anal about it now than I was back then. Because I don't know, that was a little bit of peeling a Band-Aid off because I knew some of those were worth a little bit. Nothing was crazy. I didn't massively devalue anything. So these days, the only things I really keep in the box are my Tick figures, because that is a 100% collection as far as the Bandai figures. So like I can't bring myself to take those out of the box. I'd love to get a second set that's maybe already loose. Again, just to let my kids play with them. And maybe to display those in a different way, in a different place. The Batman Pops, if I was smart, I would have kept in package, but I would not have had the space to get them all. And I think they look cooler out of the box. A lot of people don't agree with me. A lot of people like the squares, and they stack nice, and they think that looks better. A lot of those figures, whatever I paid for them, felt a lot more justified once I got them out of the box, and I was able to really appreciate what they looked like all the way around. Now, you can have your cake and eat it too with those pretty easily, because you can take them out of the box and put them back in without anybody really being much the wiser that they ever came out of the box. But I didn't do that. And these days, you know, from the beginning with those, I always took them out of the box and got rid of the boxes. There's one exception to that now, which is recently a friend bought me the Zur-En-Arrh Batman Pop, which I'm excited to show off when I get to the pop figures. That was the holy grail. At one point, that was unbuyable. It was, I think, the most expensive outside of some crazy, you know, rare Comic-Con things that I'll never get my hands on, like the, you know, Conan, or the Conan O'Brien Batman Pop. That thing's an absurd, obscene amount of money, or at least it used to be. I don't know what it goes for now. Some of these things have gone down in value a little bit, so that has finally come down some. But I mean, it's still not cheap. And at one point, that commanded $300-400 at least, and maybe even more. And anyway, a friend of mine recently bought me that, and it was just nuts. It was a big deal, and so now it feels kind of more attainable than it used to be to get all of those. But anyway, I digress. So that's the thing I'm keeping in the box. So sometimes I'll keep it that way so that I don't devalue it if it's worth quite a bit. And then I also keep more boxes than I used to, since I started getting into Heroes of the Grid, because I love what those boxes look like, and I've just made a box display. So I don't keep anything in those boxes, but I do keep the boxes because they by themselves display really nicely. By the way, everybody strap in, because this is what these streams will be like. I'm going to really take my time. People want to ask a question, I'll stop for a little bit, talk about things. I'm going to be really leisurely about it, kind of haphazard, and we're just going to try to have a good time with it. So, next up, now we get into the exciting stuff. So here is Leonardo. So these are from the original 4 Turtles. Again, these are all reproductions. This is more or less what they look like. And I'm trying to see if there's really much of a difference with anything on these boxes. There's a Nickelodeon logo now, and I think that might be about it. And obviously the date's going to be different. But more or less, this is what these boxes look like. The write-up's the same, the art's the same, and these are for nostalgic reasons, but I also think that the layouts are really nice, even going back that far. Some of the coolest and most eye-catching action figure boxes, action figure cards that anybody ever put out, and I think the marketing team with that, the art team, had a lot to do with why those were popular and sold as well as they did. Obviously, the TV show did too. But I dare say these figures could have maybe been somewhat popular, maybe not as popular, even without a TV show for them to go with. And then here is Raphael. And that is a little nostalgic just looking at it. I know I had him pretty early as well. I don't know if I ever had all 4 of these original releases of the Turtles. I definitely had them all in different ways. Like, I had the mutations, and they've re-released those recently too, and that was kind of tempting just to get the boxes for those, but I do have my mutation ones still, and I think I have all the accessories for those, and they're in pretty good shape, so I don't know if I'll pull the trigger on any of those, but I'm a little tempted. But anyway, I know I had Raphael and Donatello, and then it might be that Leonardo and Michelangelo I only had in other releases. I'm really not sure. But like a lot of kids, I had, different variations of them. I still have my Raphael in the spacesuit, but he might be missing a hand. So if they re-release that, I will get that. And the weird one that they did recently for Mutant Mayhem does not count, by the way. That was weird. There's this bizarre 4-pack that they made that has, I'm just talking about other things I don't own now. There was this bizarre 4-pack they made where they did the Mutant Mayhem version of Raphael in that suit. And then they did like a Leonardo as Spock or maybe a Donatello as Spock. I think it was Leonardo because they have the Star Trek license again now. And they did Star Trek crossover figures with the Turtles. I own one of them, I think, maybe two. And so they came back and did that, and I was like, but with those designs, like it was such a strange choice. I wonder if anybody bought those. Hi from here to here. It's good to see you. That's not a name I immediately recognize. He just says, what's going on, Cap and Gang? Well, I bought a bunch of the new reissues for Ninja Turtles, and I'm unboxing them right now as the start of a collection series I'm going to be doing that might never end. It might be the series that never ends because I'm going to, in a very long-winded way, go through everything I own. Literally almost everything I own. We're going to catalog it. I'm even thinking about doing a count where I count every item that we looked at in the video, and then I write that down somewhere, and then we start adding those together as we go, and we just figure out, like, the sheer number of things that are in this crazy random collection that I have. I don't know if I'll go that far. I'm kicking it around. It'll be easier to do with this. I know what that number is already. It's 21, because there's 19 figures here, and then there's 2 vehicles. So, we already did it for this. That's easy. Okay, here we go, folks. That is... Sorry, I'm just taking it in. It's just... It's like it was yesterday. This is Donatello. It is one of my absolute earliest memories. And I don't know if I can say earliest, because it's always difficult. Like, whenever somebody says, what is your earliest memory? It's like, I don't know if I can put it in order. Memory is such a fickle thing. But when I look at this... immediately, I'm transported back to 4 or 5 years old. And it's gonna be even weirder. And like, I don't know, I'm kind of gushing about this. This might look kind of sappy, kind of, pathetic, nostalgic stuff, if nostalgia bothers you. But I try not to be too, like, horribly blinded by nostalgia, where anytime something I recognize shows up, I just lose myself and I can't be objective about anything. At the same time, I would have to describe myself as a nostalgic person. Just look at my tattoos and what I wear, like, literally on my sleeve that way, and with t-shirts and stuff. Like yes, I'm kind of a nostalgic, more than kind of a nostalgic person. So yeah, I look at this and it really takes me back, and I think it was worth getting the reissue. This is going to sound so silly probably, just to have this in the package again and get the experience of taking it out of the package. And that's why I'm not going to do that right now, tonight. I kind of want to do that, like, with my kids. And I'm thinking I probably won't do that on camera, because we've already gone through these. We will have already gone through these, so I'll revisit these again when I get them on display, probably. But when the Technodrome comes out, I am thinking, I don't know if I'll do this, but I am thinking it might be fun to put that together on a stream, just while hanging out with you guys, talking to you guys. With that, sticker it, get all the pieces together. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. And then here's Michelangelo. And I don't know. Now that I'm looking at it again, and, like, obviously I know what this looks like, but just getting it back in my hand and looking at it again, I think I had this one too. Maybe I did have all 4 of these. I'm not sure. But anyway, they're all 4 sitting here. It will be kind of fun to have these in box for, a little while, a couple of days at least, before I take them all out and, have that experience with my kids. Dan Schneider, $5 super chat. Thanks, man. Remember, I will give you a gong right after I read it. Remember when they did that Turtles brawler that used the designs from TMNT 2007 for some reason? That movie supposedly is a sequel to the 90s movie. Yes, and wow, that was loud. Yes, and I've talked about that in the various videos I've done on the '07 movie. That it's sort of a sequel. Maybe it's supposed to be in that continuity, just because there are a couple of Easter eggs, references to those, and it feels like a decades later sequel to that movie because the Turtles are older now. They're not even really teenagers. It's 5 years later, so they're probably in their early 20s, but we kept the same name. Well, I think that's why it's the acronym, though. So it's TMNT, as in, like, we know they're the Ninja Turtles, but they're not really teenagers anymore, so we're not going to actually spell it out. But you've got the Shredder helmet at the end. The only place that particular helmet ever was those movies. So, yeah. It doesn't have the same feel. I mean, it is weird if it's those movies, but suddenly April feels younger, looks very different. Not sure if she was ever a reporter, and now she fights like a ninja. Like, the tone of that and the designs and stuff were much, much closer to the 2003 show. And I thought originally, when we first got the trailers for that it was going to be that show, but just in, 3D animation now. And yes, that fighting game was weird. It was a clone of Smash, and it's not great. I played it when it first came out and remembered liking it okay. And then I bought it again years later, and I had a scratched disc, and I had to find another one, and I finally got my hands on it, and it was scratched. I went through 3 of these before I finally played it again, and I've got one that works now, and I played it once, and I went, this game is not great, and I don't know if I would ever play it again. I don't know why I went through all of that, just to have a copy of it. I don't know what I was thinking. As I always say, you're never the same person exactly day to day, and sometimes you look back on things you did years ago, odd mistakes you made, and you're like, I just can't even imagine the headspace I was in that made me get to that. Dan Schneider, I've never heard them talk about it. He says Eastman and Laird don't even seem to agree on it, if it's in that continuity or not. One said it isn't, the other that it is. I would tend to agree with the one of them that said that it's not. I also would bet you money it's Laird that said it's not, but I don't know. From here to here, once again, hi, says I love those reissues. I get so nostalgic looking at them. I'm instantly transported to my childhood. Yeah, and again, that's part of the reason. Cost was some of it, but that marketplace ad has been sitting there for quite a while and nobody's jumped on it. I think partly because, or probably mostly because these reissues exist. Again, it's not a bad price for what the guy's sitting on and the shape they're in. I mean, it's fantastic. I think 10 years ago it would have gone real quick, but then the Technodrome pre-order happened and all bets are off after that. But I was just going to say, one of the reasons I decided to go for this is just to get the experience of having them in package and taking them out again. And I think that's going to be worth it. I don't think I'm going to regret that at all. So here are the original Bebop and Rocksteady. These guys are also harder to get right now online. Now, I have run into one of them. I want to say it was Rocksteady not too long ago at an out-of-town Walmart. And it was just $10, and I was like, I paid a little bit more per figure with this box, and I started kind of questioning what kind of deal I got, and then I started looking around again, and I was like, yeah, but I'm not seeing the original Turtles for that, and yeah, outside of Walmart, if you can find them there. So it would be a matter, and then, that Foot Soldier, so it would be a matter of hunting around and piecemealing them, and that can be fun. I do like doing that with Pops, but these, I gotta be honest with you, because I almost bought a bunch together, I was a little bit more impatient about it if I found a good deal on a big lot of them, and I did, so that's why I went ahead and did that. Okay, we're almost there with the figures. Couple more of these packages here. I can already tell we're gonna have a blast with this series. It's nice having some folks here to do this with while I'm unboxing, and already had some fun questions and comments that are taking me back down memory lane and make me think of various things to chat about while we do this. Here is Genghis Frog. I don't know if the other Karate Frogs got figures or not. This is the big one that always comes up in things. Like, I think he's got a cameo, or a cameo. He's got a little part that he plays in the new Turtles Beat 'em Up and Shredder's Revenge. I think it's this one. So yeah, there were the other Karate Frogs, and I think NECA with their insane, like larger figure releases, they did a bunch of figures that Playmates never got to. I think it's all NECA. There might be another company that does it too. I'm not sure. I don't love the designs of those with the kind of like 2D turned into 3D look. They're cool. It's not really my thing. Like, I don't think I would get them. But anyway, I think they maybe did a 4-pack where they put all of those out. And they also did a Pizza Monster. And I don't think Playmates ever did the Pizza Monster. So that one I am tempted by, just because it's the only one there is. But like, they did a Metalhead, and I love Metalhead. But like, he looks like that original figure, except I don't even know how to describe it. Like, just the details are painted differently to look more like a flat 2D image, and I don't know, it's odd. I can't get real excited about it. Like you, I'm having trouble, this is here from here to here again, remembering if I had all 4 turtles. I know for sure I had Donnie and probably Raph. Yeah, same thing here. I definitely had Donnie and Raph, but looking at Michelangelo again, I'm almost positive I had that. And it will be cool going through my old toy trunk, and I want to do that with Jason with me, just so that he can see some of my old stuff that he's maybe never seen or hasn't seen since he was real little. Because part of the reason I kept all my stuff was so my kids could play with them. So when he was real little, he did, but I don't know what his memories are like of that stuff. But anyway, we'll see if he's in there, because I have all of my old figures. I never got rid of those. So if I had him, he's in there. This is another one that I would not have had to buy if it didn't happen to come with this collection. But this is Wingnut and Screwloose. And these were also characters that I didn't know about until a lot later, and that I don't remember ever seeing figures for when I was a kid. But they were early ones, I think. Okay. Being careful not to roll my chair over these. So I'm just going to move things around here a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed one more small package here. It's got 2 more figures. I wasn't counting as we went. There should be 19 here. Spike's lover, April, being a ninja, was in multiple versions, that's true, of the unmade Turtles movies in the 90s. Oh, I see what you mean. What would have been the 4th film. Yeah, but you at least would have seen her get there. You'd see some kind of connective tissue. She feels like a totally different character in that movie. I mean, it doesn't help that she's a lot more petite. Like, her build's totally different. She doesn't look like the same character at all. Oh, interesting. Plush DX says one reviewer who never saw the 03 show was confused if the film was in the 03 universe or not. That's fair. I can totally see why. Oh, and I don't know why I wasn't immediately like, oh, wait, we can't be done. We're Shredder and Krang. But here indeed are Shredder and Krang. So, these are also figures I still own. But my Krang is very scratched up on the dome on the front. I remember that. And my Shredder, like most people's Shredders, is missing his cape. And so I've had a, half-naked Shredder forever, and it's very exciting to finally have a fully clothed Shredder. Except he's still got, his open chest, because he always had that. But yeah, also, of course, super nostalgic looking at this. I remember getting my Krang a little bit later, but my Shredder I had pretty early. And I also have, we'll look at this, later on when I do that video with my old collection, but I still have the, cannon that came with Ooze, and anybody that's my age that had this stuff, tell me if you remember this. It was like, I think it was supposed to be a shredder vehicle. Not really a vehicle, but it was like a big weapon, and it had, like a lot of these things, that had a ton of stickers, I remember. And you got like a little thing, a canister of slime that came with it. You were supposed to put the slime in it and like fire it, and then slime was everywhere. I loved that thing. Okay, so next up, these will be brief because I'm not going to take them out of the box yet. So I'll show them off again when I get them all put together. One second, I didn't open these boxes far enough. Or this one anyway. So here is the blimp. Now I have heard complaints that it is smaller than the original, like I'm hearing with the Technodrome. I don't know by how much, though. This boasts, what does it say, 30 inches long? And it's weird if it's smaller because, yeah, it says blows up to 30 inches long. I would have to see what the original box said, because these are supposed to be in reproductions also of the boxes, more or less, except, again, with the Nickelodeon logo now. But I never had one, so I don't think the size is really gonna, bother me much, even if it is a little smaller. And it can't be by much. I mean, 30 inches sounds massive. I also have the blimp from the 2012 show, because Playmates kind of went back to their old scheme with these and put out a lot of, like, the same strategy. Put out a lot of the same stuff that they did with 87, just with the new 2012 show, including the blimp. And I love that thing. It's really cool. And it works the same way this does, where it's got these little seats on the bottom that you can connect the turtles to, and it's got these ropes. So, like, it's a really similar toy. It's funny because I never had this, and I didn't have friends that did either. I think maybe I knew one kid that had this, and I never got to play with it. But I always wanted it, and it's really exciting to finally have one. And again, just in the box, even though it's not the original thing, you're not going to get this box now. I'm not going to pay the $200, $300, $400 it would cost to get my hands on one. Maybe not 4 with these, but I think, like, in box, it might be that much, honestly. I'm not sure. But again, I digress. It's worth it just to get to finally have that experience. So I'm excited about that. I probably will blow it up, I imagine. But for this one, it's a little bit more about getting the box and just finally having my hands on one. So that's exciting. RJ Godzilla says, Karai was a major player in the 03 series. That's right. But when she shows up in TMNT, the Turtles don't know who she is. It's definitely not that show. I mean, I don't think anybody's disputing that. Nor do they know who she's referring to when she mentions her father. Yeah. Was Karai ever in the 87 show? Because I've seen, like, 87 designs for her, but I don't know if she ever made that show. It's funny, the really major Ninja Turtles characters that were only in that show for a couple of minutes, for very few episodes. Like, Casey Jones was so popular because of that movie that I think fans of the cartoons still thought of him as a big part of it and got his figure, but he's only in like 4 episodes. And he is Jason's favorite character from that show because it's hilarious. Go back and read, if you can get your hands on it, in physical digital, however, the 3rd issue of, what are they calling it? Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures, I think, that Eric Burnham is writing. Eric Burnham, who used to do the Ghostbusters comics for IDW. They've lost the license now. And it wasn't a monthly for a long time anyway. He would just occasionally come back and do a miniseries. But he's still there with them, and he's doing that series now. I think it's a monthly. I think it's up to like issue 13. And I've started reading it. I'm a few issues in, and it's fun. I really like the art. It's wonderful. But anyway, the 3rd issue is a Casey Jones issue, and he gets superpowers, and it's very funny. And I recommend that if you like that show. Dan Schneider, Ninja Turtles, or TMNT, this is exactly right, is like Superman Returns, where it's a sequel, but April and Casey are somehow younger. Yeah, exactly. I see it more as one of these things is canonical to, see if you can follow this. The thing that came before is canonical to the new thing. But if you go back and watch that thing, the new thing is not canonical to it. Does that make any sense at all? I think I'm trying to think of other good examples, but I think there are a few things here and there like this where the new thing will cherry pick what counts, but when you watch the old thing, you can't then think of the thing that comes later as part of that continuity. So you have a thing that'll build on it, but it's and the reason they don't both count together is because of those discrepancies. So like Superman Returns, it just doesn't track that it's in the same universe because they're Lex Luthor. In some ways, he's like he's like the Donner version and in Gene Hackman, and in some ways he's a lot more like corporate tycoon Lex. And so there are bits of those movies that have to be canonical with it, but it is not canonical with those. Dan Schneider says what you're describing is called divergent continuities. There you go. I didn't know it had a name. So it feels sort of, if you think about it in multiversal terms, it's like branching timelines. Then it's like a universe once removed or something. Okay, that was all too nerdy for a channel called Geekvolution. Okay, now we got the party wagon, and as I mentioned earlier, I did own this. Like a lot of kids, I think years later, even when I still had it, I didn't have all the pieces to it. So this is the thing I might have considered buying again, even if I had my old one. But I don't know what happened to that a long time ago. There were a few toys that my brother got, and I didn't. Like with our Power Rangers, I think the way we split it up was he got all the figures and I got all the Megazords and vehicles. And then I think at some point he sold or somehow got rid of the figures, and I kind of wished I had hung on to them. But, I mean, nothing against my brother Dennis. I just wish we still had those, you know. But anyway, I'm not sure how that happened. But here is, so maybe something like that happened with Turtles, where it went the other way, where he got the but then I still have some of the vehicles. I still have the pizza shooter, and there was a perfect, immaculate-looking pizza shooter in that collection I almost got. But anyway, okay, so that's another thing that if they do a reissue, I might get. And that's the thing is, the reissues have been doing well enough that I think all the stuff that I wanted from that collection will eventually come out this way, and I'll get to have my cake and eat it too, because I'll get them all as reissues, but I'll get the boxes, and they'll be in, you know, perfect immaculate shape with all the accessories. I'm repeating myself now, apologies. But I think they'll probably do a drill module, because I think that thing was popular enough that they'll think to put that out. And the pizza shooter was also a thing everybody remembers. I think they're likely to put that out too. I also think they're likely to put out the sewer play set again. But I do have one of those, and I think it is complete. I got that from Vince too, when he got rid of his Turtles collection, because I didn't know that he and his brother were selling those. He brought it up at one point, and I went, "Oh man, do you still have your Technodrome?" And he went, "No, we sold it." And I was like, "Vince, why didn't you tell me? I would have bought it, man." And he goes, "Oh, it didn't even occur to me that you would want any of that stuff. We're still selling some of it. What do you want?" And he had that sewer play set, and I never had that, so I got that from him. So I will set that back up and put this stuff with it, and that'll be really cool. I don't know where it is right now, but it's in a box. I know I've got all those pieces. Here is, again, so the party wagon. And, you know, I want to say it's nostalgic looking at this box. I don't remember pulling this out of the box when it originally came out. But obviously, you know, I've seen this a lot since then. Pictures of it. It's a neat box design. I like all this hand-drawn art from that period. It wasn't just Ninja Turtles that did it. I think the early McFarlane Spawn toys did that. I can't remember if He-Man did it, but like I think there's a lot of 80s and even into the early 90s toys that had these, kind of more sketchy, more underground, kind of rugged looking artwork on these things where, I don't want to say that it looks unprofessional because it does look professional, but it's not. There's some grit to it. It's not super polished. It's like we just finished this thing, and we're not even gonna put a picture of it on the box. We're gonna put a really cool like comic book drawing, and like yes, there is a little picture in the corner, but isn't this more exciting to play with? It looks like to play with. It's almost like saying this is what you're supposed to be imagining you're doing when you play with this. And doesn't that make you want to play with it more? Like, doesn't that sell it better? I don't know. It's cool. James Egan, thanks so much for the super chat, man. Let me read this. Box. But again, I'm going to take my time with these. $14.99 Australian. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. He says, I think Australian. Cap. Could you review The Comic Trade, The World's Greatest Superheroes by Paul Dini and Alex Ross? It's a collection of one-shots about DC characters that has some of my favorite stories for Superman and Batman. I was not aware of that. I am also copying your comment, and I will consider it, sir. We are doing as close to twice a month as we can right now, and I've been having to take a little bit of time off for the summer. But Austin and I are bringing back the Comic Vault. We're trying to do it after the Captain Logan show twice a month, as much as humanly possible. It is his turn to pick this week. I will take a look at that, and I haven't decided what I'm doing next time, so I might put it there for the next one, although there's some newer stuff that I'm kicking around. So I'm not going to promise it right away, but I will look into it. That super chat though was pretty close to the request tier. Sorry, I'm getting tired. Donation amount. So yeah, I will. Let me say this. I will do it. I'll make a note of it. I just don't know how soon I'll do it. Let me say that. I'm putting a request in capital letters here. So I have occasionally taken requests that way. I will say I prefer to do it through Patreon. I don't want to set a precedent where we're constantly doing super chats that way. So for requests, just because we've got such a backlog already. So if that were to happen too much, I would probably cut it off at some point and ask people not to do that. But it happens infrequently enough. I really appreciate the super chat. I will definitely get that in someplace, either on request or on a regular vault night. Anyway, well, guys, I think that about does it for me tonight. Like I said, I'm gonna do these collection videos as often as I can. It's gonna be real laid back, very. I don't want to say entirely unplanned. I mean, some of these things I'll have to get some stuff together, but I'm not going to do a lot of prep work ahead of time because it'll be just fun doing deep dives, looking at all this stuff and going back down memory lane. I don't have a list of exactly the order I want to do. I'm going to really play it by ear and just do the things I'm feeling like doing when I do them. And I don't have a specific night for it, but I'm going to shoot for weekly. So probably on a weekend like this, Sunday night, Monday night, a night I don't usually stream, just sneak it in as much as I can. It should be a lot of fun. Anyway, I'm getting back to movie shooting this week. I'm doing a cool scene with Brandon on Tuesday night, and I'm excited about that. So we've got 2 more weeks of movie shooting before I go out of town again, and I'm going to try to do as many streams as I can this week and the week after. Jason and I and John are going to try to get together this coming weekend to finally do a spoiler cast on X-Men 97. That's the hope anyway. I'll let you know if plans change for that, but I'll try to do it at least before I have to go back out of town again. I have another whole week-long trip I have to do with my wife's family in a couple of weeks. And so I'll be off for that week, but I'm going to be around streaming before that. We'll have a request on Wednesday. We'll have a Captain Logan show on Thursday and Friday night this week. I think we'll do Rewind next week, which will be Mask of Zorro. Mask of Zorro? Mask of Zorro, yes. This Friday night, we will do some kind of fun watch party. I don't know what that will be yet. Dan Schneider, will my name be said in the movie? If you did a donation for that at the right tier, it won't be said, but it will show up. It'll be on screen in a scene. Anyway, guys, appreciate you. I hope you had fun. I certainly did, and I'm excited to get this stuff out and display it, and we'll revisit it when I do that. Yeah, I'll try to do another one of these next week. It might, I don't know what it'll be yet. It might be my tattoos. I might go ahead and get that stream knocked out just because that's easy to do. Although, I'll want to take pictures ahead of time probably because it'll just be easier to show those to you. And I've shown them all off before, but this way you'll get to see them real close up. And that is kind of a collection I have now. So anyway, I will see you guys again real soon. I was Captain Logan. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a wonderful beginning of your week starting tomorrow, and I hope to see you real soon. Bye, guys.